You know that feeling when you're standing in your kitchen, staring at divorce papers on the counter, wondering how the hell you got there? That's where I am right now. My name is Joy Wilcox. I'm 34 years old, and I'm about to tell you how one weekend trip destroyed my marriage of 12 years. I keep thinking maybe if I tell this story enough times, it'll start making sense. Maybe I'll figure out where exactly I went wrong, or maybe I'll finally accept that some mistakes can't be undone. Either way, here goes nothing. It was in March when my phone rang. I was folding laundry in our bedroom, the same boring routine I'd been doing for years, when I saw a number I didn't recognize. Normally I'd let it go to voicemail, but something made me pick up. Joy? Oh my God, is this really you? The voice hit me like a punch to the gut. I hadn't heard it in 15 years, but I knew exactly who it was. Sarah Kendricks. We'd been inseparable in college, roommates junior and senior year, the kind of friends who finish each other's sentences and share everything, until we didn't. Sarah? I sat down hard on the bed, a half-folded shirt falling to the floor. How did you get my number? Your mom, she said, and I could hear she was crying. Joy, I'm sorry to call like this. I know we haven't talked since everything happened, but I didn't know who else to call. My mind immediately went back to our falling out. Sarah had been my maid of honor, and 2 weeks before my wedding, she'd confessed she had feelings for my fiancé, Andrew. Not that she'd acted on them, she was quick to say, but she couldn't stand up there and watch me marry someone she was in love with. The whole thing exploded. She dropped out of the wedding, and I told her I never wanted to see her again. Young and stubborn, that was me. I was so hurt, so angry. Andrew and I went through with the wedding, but the damage to my friendship with Sarah felt irreparable. We'd had this beautiful, sisterly bond, and in one conversation, it was over. Sarah, what's wrong? I asked, because despite everything, I could hear the pain in her voice. It's my daughter, Lily. She's really sick, Joy. Stage 3 leukemia. She's only 8 years old. Her voice broke completely. I'm at Children's Hospital in Denver, and they're saying she needs this experimental treatment, but my insurance won't cover it. I'm drowning here, and I remembered how you always knew what to do, how you always made everything better. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Here was this woman I'd cut out of my life 15 years ago, calling me in her darkest hour. Part of me wanted to hang up, to protect myself from getting dragged into her mess. But a bigger part of me, the part that remembered staying up all night with her when her parents got divorced, the part that remembered her holding my hair back when I had food poisoning sophomore year, that part couldn't turn away. Oh, Sarah, I whispered, I'm so sorry. What can I do? What followed was a 2-hour conversation that changed everything. Sarah told me about her ex-husband who'd left when Lily got sick, about the medical bills piling up, about feeling completely alone. She was working 2 jobs and barely keeping her head above water. There's this treatment in Denver, she explained. It's not covered by insurance because it's still experimental, but the success rates are incredible. The doctor thinks Lily's a perfect candidate, but it costs $47,000. My heart sank. Andrew and I were comfortable. He worked in software development, and I managed a small marketing firm, but we weren't $47,000 sitting around comfortable. I've been doing everything I can think of, Sarah continued. GoFundMe, church fundraisers, even selling everything I own. But I'm still $30,000 short, and time is running out. That's when she told me about her plan. She'd been working with a medical fundraising organization that helped families in situations like hers. They were hosting a major fundraising gala in Las Vegas, one of those fancy charity auction events where wealthy donors write big checks. Sarah had been invited to speak about Lily's story, and she was hoping to raise the remaining money she needed. The thing is, she said, her voice getting smaller, I can't do it alone. I'm terrified of public speaking, always have been. You remember how I used to make you do all our class presentations? And I don't know anyone at these events. I'll just be some crying mom begging for money. I knew where this was going before she asked, Joy, would you come with me? Just for moral support. You were always so good with people, so confident. I know it's a lot to ask after everything that happened between us, but I'm desperate. This might be Lily's only chance. I should have said no. I should have wished her luck and hung up the phone. Instead, I found myself saying, "When is it?" "This weekend, Saturday night. I know it's short notice, but Sarah, I can't just drop everything and fly to Vegas. I have a family, responsibilities. I'll pay for everything," she said quickly. "The fundraising organization has a budget for travel expenses. Please, Joy." I wouldn't ask if it wasn't life or death. I sat there in my bedroom, surrounded by half-folded laundry, staring at a picture of Andrew and me on our anniversary last year. We looked happy, stable, predictable. When was the last time someone had needed me like this? When was the last time I'd felt like I could make a real difference in someone's life? "Let me think about it," I said. But I already knew I was going to say yes. The problem was Andrew. My husband is a good man, loyal, steady, practical, but he's also incredibly protective of our quiet, orderly life. He would never understand why I needed to drop everything to help a woman who'd betrayed me 15 years ago. He'd ask a million questions about why it had to be me, why Sarah couldn't find someone else, why I was putting myself in this position. And honestly, I wasn't sure I could answer those questions. All I knew was that a little girl was dying, and her mother, someone who'd once been the most important person in my world, was asking for my help. So I lied. It started small, the way these things always do. When Andrew came home from work that Wednesday, I was making dinner and trying to figure out how to approach this. "Honey," I said, not looking up from the stove. "My college roommate Sarah called today. Remember, I've mentioned her before?" Andrew paused in sorting through the mail. "Sarah, wasn't she the one who caused all that drama before our wedding?" "Yeah, that's her." I stirred the pasta sauce, buying myself time. "Anyway, she's in Denver now, and she's organizing this charity fundraiser for children's cancer research. They've asked me to come speak at it, as a representative of their marketing campaign." It wasn't technically a lie, I told myself. Sarah was in Denver, there was a fundraiser, and they did want me there to help with something that could be considered marketing. "That's nice," Andrew said, but I could hear the question in his voice. "When is it?" "This weekend, Saturday." I finally turned around to face him. I know it's short notice, but they had a last-minute cancellation and they specifically requested someone with my background. Andrew frowned. "This weekend?" "Joy, we have plans with my parents on Sunday. And didn't you say you wanted to finally organize the garage?" My heart started racing. This was exactly why I couldn't tell him the truth. Everything had to be about our schedule, our plans, our perfectly organized life. "I know, but this is important. It's for sick kids, Andrew. I can fly out Saturday morning and be back Sunday afternoon. We can reschedule with your parents." He was quiet for a long moment, and I could see him working through it in his head. Andrew always processed things logically, weighing pros and cons like he was debugging code. "Okay," he finally said, "if it's important to you. But you're sure this is legitimate? It's not some scheme to get you involved in whatever drama she's got going on now." The guilt hit me like a physical blow. Of course it's legitimate. They're paying for my flight and everything, another lie. Sarah was paying technically, but not for the reasons I'd implied. "All right then," Andrew said, kissing my forehead. "Just be careful, and call me when you get there." I nodded, hating myself a little more with each word. Saturday morning came too quickly. I'd barely slept the night before, my stomach churning with anxiety and guilt. Andrew drove me to the airport, still asking questions about the event that I deflected with vague answers about children's charities and fundraising campaigns. "I'm proud of you for doing this," he said as he dropped me off. "I know public speaking isn't your favorite thing." The irony wasn't lost on me. Here he was, being supportive of what he thought was a good deed, while I was lying to his face. The flight to Las Vegas felt endless. I kept checking my phone, reading Sarah's grateful text messages, trying to convince myself I was doing the right thing. When I finally landed, Sarah was waiting for me at baggage claim. 15 years had changed her. She looked older than her 34 years, worn down by whatever she'd been through. But when she saw me, her face lit up with the same smile I remembered from college. "Joy," she said, hugging me tight. "I can't believe you came. I can't believe you're really here." For a moment, it was like no time had passed at all. We were just Sarah and Joy again, best friends who do anything for each other. "How's Lily?" I asked as we walked to her rental car. Sarah's face clouded. "She's hanging in there. The doctors say the next few weeks are critical, if we can get her into this treatment program." She trailed off, but I could hear the desperate hope in her voice. The hotel was nice, nicer than I'd expected for a charity event. Sarah explained that the fundraising organization went all out for these galas because it helped attract high-dollar donors. "The cocktail hour starts at 6, she said as we checked in. "The dinner and auction are at 8. I'm supposed to speak right after the main course." Her hands were shaking as she said it. I spent the afternoon helping Sarah practice her speech, the way I used to help her prepare for presentations in college. She'd written something beautiful about Lily, about her laugh, her strength, her dreams of becoming a veterinarian. By the time we were getting ready for the event, I was crying just listening to it. "You're going to be amazing," I told her as we stood in front of the bathroom mirror putting on makeup. "Lily is so lucky to have you as her mom." Sarah met my eyes in the reflection. "I know I hurt you, Joy. I know what I did was unforgivable, but having you here, getting to be friends again, even just for this weekend, it means everything to me." I squeezed her hand, pushing down the guilt about my lies to Andrew. "Let's just focus on Lily right now." The fundraising gala was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. The ballroom was filled with what had to be 500 people, all dressed to the nines, cocktails flowing freely. Sarah introduced me to the organizers as her dear friend who'd flown in to support her. And I found myself mingling with wealthy donors, sharing stories about Lily that Sarah had told me. When it came time for Sarah to speak, I stood at the back of the room, my heart pounding for her. She walked up to the podium looking terrified, but as soon as she started talking about Lily, her voice grew stronger. She talked about her daughter's courage, about the treatments that could save her life, about what it meant to have hope in the darkest times. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The auction that followed was incredible. People were bidding thousands of dollars on everything from vacation packages to artwork. But the real moment came when Sarah returned to the stage for a final appeal. "I know I'm asking a lot," she said, her voice steady now. "But if you have children, grandchildren, or if you remember what it was like to be 8 years old and full of dreams, please consider helping Lily. Every dollar brings us closer to giving her the chance at life she deserves." What happened next took my breath away. A man in the front row stood up and announced he was donating $25,000. Then another donor matched it. By the time it was over, they'd raised nearly $60,000, more than enough for Lily's treatment. Sarah collapsed into my arms backstage, sobbing with relief. "We did it," she kept saying. "Oh my God, we actually did it." I held her, crying too, feeling more useful and alive than I had in years. This was what I'd been missing in my perfectly organized life, the feeling that I could make a real difference, that I mattered beyond my daily routines. We celebrated that night at the hotel bar, talking until 3 a.m. about everything and nothing. It felt like college again, like we were those young women who thought we could save the world. For the first time in 15 years, I felt like myself, not Andrew's wife or the efficient marketing manager, just Joy. "I have something to tell you," Sarah said as we finally headed up to our rooms. "I'm getting married again. His name is Connor, and he's been incredible through all of this with Lily. He proposed last month, right there in her hospital room." "Sarah, that's wonderful," I said, genuinely happy for her. "I want you to be my maid of honor," she said quietly. "I know that's crazy after everything, but having you here this weekend, remembering what our friendship used to be like, I can't imagine getting married without you standing beside me." I should have said I needed to think about it. I should have considered what that would mean for my marriage, my life back home. Instead, I heard myself saying yes. The flight back to Denver Sunday afternoon felt like returning from another world. I spent the entire 3 hours staring out the window, thinking about the weekend, about Sarah's speech, about the feeling of being needed in a way I hadn't experienced in years. Andrew was waiting for me at baggage claim, and seeing him there, solid, familiar, safe, should have felt like coming home. Instead, it felt like stepping back into a cage. "How was the fundraiser?" he asked as we walked to the car. "Good," I said, which was both true and completely inadequate. "Really good. They raised a lot of money for the kids." "That's great, honey. I'm glad you could help." The guilt was eating me alive. "Just work stuff," I lied, quickly putting the phone face down. But Andrew wasn't stupid. He'd been watching me, noticing the change in my behavior, the way I'd light up when my phone buzzed, the way I'd started talking about helping with charity work. That required long phone calls in the other room. It all came crashing down on a Thursday evening in May. I was in the shower when my phone rang, and without thinking, Andrew answered it. I heard his voice from the bathroom. "Hello?" "Oh, hi, Sarah." "No, this is Andrew, Joy's husband." "She's in the shower, but I can take a message." My blood ran cold. I turned off the water and stood there dripping, straining to hear the conversation. "A bridesmaid dress fitting?" Andrew's voice was confused. "I'm sorry. What wedding are you talking about?" I wrapped a towel around myself and rushed out of the bathroom, but it was too late. Andrew was standing there holding my phone, his face white as a sheet. "She hung up," he said quietly. "Joy? What bridesmaid dress fitting?" My mouth went dry. "Andrew, I can explain. You went to Vegas to see Sarah, didn't you? The woman who was in love with me. The woman you swore you'd never speak to again." His voice was deadly calm, which was somehow worse than if he'd been yelling. "Yes, but it's not what you think. You lied to me. You looked me in the eye and lied about where you were going and who you were seeing." He set my phone down on the dresser like it was contaminated. "Why, Joy? After 15 years, why?" I sat down on the bed, still clutching my towel, trying to figure out how to explain something I wasn't sure I understood myself. Her daughter is sick, leukemia. She needed help with a fundraiser, and she didn't have anyone else to ask. I couldn't just turn my back on a dying child. "So you lied to me instead of just telling me the truth?" "Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. I knew you'd make it about our history instead of about helping a sick kid." Andrew stared at me. "Our history?" "Joy, she was in love with me. She tried to break up our wedding. And now you're sneaking around lying to me, planning to be in her wedding. What am I supposed to think?" "You're supposed to trust me," I said, but even as I said it, I knew how hollow it sounded. "Trust you," he laughed bitterly. "You just spent 2 months lying to my face. You've been having secret phone calls, making plans behind my back. How am I supposed to trust you when you won't even tell me the truth about where you've been?" What followed was the worst fight of our marriage. Andrew felt betrayed by my lies, and I felt suffocated by his need to control every aspect of our life. We said things we couldn't take back, dredged up resentments that had been buried for years. "This isn't about Sarah," I finally said, exhausted from hours of arguing. "This is about the fact that I felt more like myself in 2 days with her than I have in years of our marriage." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm drowning, Andrew. I'm drowning in our perfect little life, our perfect little routines, our perfect little plans that never leave room for spontaneity or passion or feeling like I actually matter." He looked like I'd slapped him. "You matter. You matter to me." "Do I? Or do you just like having me here to fold your laundry and make your dinner and follow your schedule?" "That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you asked me what I wanted? When's the last time we did something because I was passionate about it, not because it fit into our 5-year plan?" We went to bed that night without resolving anything, lying on the opposite sides of the mattress like strangers. But I knew something had fundamentally shifted between us. The careful, controlled life we'd built together had developed cracks, and I wasn't sure they could be repaired. 2 weeks later, Sarah called with news that should have been purely joyful. Lily's treatment was working. The tumors were shrinking, and the doctors were optimistic about her prognosis. "Joy, I can't thank you enough," Sarah said, crying with happiness. "You saved my daughter's life." You saved her life, I corrected. I just stood there and watched you be brave. Will you still be my maid of honor? The wedding's in August, in Denver. I know things are complicated with Andrew, but yes, I said, without hesitation. Of course I will. But I knew as I said it that I was making a choice. I was choosing Sarah and this rekindled friendship over my marriage. I was choosing the woman who'd once betrayed me over the man who'd stood by me for 12 years. When I told Andrew that night, he didn't yell or argue. He just looked at me with this expression of profound sadness. You're choosing her, he said quietly. I'm choosing to help a friend. You're choosing her, he repeated. After everything she did to us, after all the lies you've told me, you're still choosing her over our marriage. I wanted to argue, to explain why it wasn't that simple, but deep down I knew he was right. I was choosing Sarah, choosing the excitement and drama and feeling of being needed over the steady, predictable love Andrew offered. Maybe, I said finally, maybe I am. Andrew moved out the next week. He didn't make a big scene or issue ultimatums. He just packed his things methodically, the same way he approached everything else in life, and left. I hope she's worth it, he said as he loaded the last box into his car. I hope 15 years of marriage was worth throwing away for someone who stabbed you in the back once, and will probably do it again. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that Sarah had changed, that our friendship was different now. But watching him drive away, I felt a cold certainty that he might be right. Sarah's wedding was beautiful. I stood beside her in a pale blue dress, watching her marry a man who clearly adored her and Lily both. During the ceremony, I found myself thinking about my own wedding day, about how young and hopeful Andrew and I had been. At the reception, Lily, healthy now, her hair growing back in soft curls, asked me why I looked sad at such a happy party. I'm not sad, sweetheart, I lied. I'm just thinking about how lucky your mommy is to have found love again. But the truth was, I was wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. 6 months after Andrew left, I was sitting in our empty house, my empty house now, when Sarah called with news that shattered what was left of my world. Joy, I have to tell you something, she said, her voice strange. About Connor and me, about how we met. My stomach dropped. What about it? We met 2 years ago before Lily got sick. We've been together this whole time. The story I told you about him proposing in the hospital room, about him being there through everything, that was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. I don't understand, Sarah took a deep breath. Connor and I were already engaged when Lily was diagnosed. We postponed the wedding because of her treatment, but we never stopped planning it. When I called you that day, when I asked you to come to Vegas, I already knew I wanted you to be my maid of honor. The fundraiser was real, and Lily really needed the treatment, but what, Sarah? But part of me also wanted to prove that I could get you back, that after everything that happened between us, I could still make you choose me over Andrew. It was petty and stupid, and I'm so sorry. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. You manipulated me. No, that's not, yes, partly, but Joy. Our friendship is real. What we have now is real. I do love you like a sister, and I am grateful for everything you did for Lily. But I also can't pretend that there wasn't a part of me that wanted to win. I hung up the phone and sat in my empty living room, surrounded by the ruins of my perfectly organized life. Sarah had been right about one thing. She'd won. She'd gotten me to choose her over Andrew, to blow up my marriage for a friendship built on lies and manipulation. The divorce was finalized on a gray Tuesday in March, exactly 1 year after Sarah's first phone call. Andrew was fair about everything, more than fair. He let me keep the house, split our savings down the middle, didn't ask for alimony even though he probably could have gotten it. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, he said when we signed the papers. I really do. I wanted to tell him I'd found it and lost it, that what I'd been looking for was the feeling of being needed, of mattering, of being more than just a well-organized life. But I'd learned too late that you can't build a life on drama and excitement. You can't sustain a relationship on the high of being someone's savior. Sarah and I still talk occasionally, but it's different now. The magic of our rekindled friendship couldn't survive the truth about how it started. Connor is a good man who makes her happy, and Lily is thriving. That's what matters. But I'm no longer the essential friend Sarah made me feel like I was. I was just a pawn in a game I didn't even know I was playing. These days, I live alone in the house Andrew and I bought together. I've redecorated it, made it mine in ways it never was when we were married. It's beautiful and peaceful and exactly the way I want it. It's also incredibly lonely. I think about Andrew sometimes. Wonder if he's met someone new, if he's building another perfectly organized life with a woman who appreciates the steady, reliable love he offers. I hope he has. He deserves someone who won't throw away 12 years of marriage for the thrill of feeling needed by someone who'd already betrayed her once. If I could go back and talk to the woman I was a year ago, the woman folding laundry and feeling restless in her comfortable life, I'd tell her this. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's just different grass with different problems. And sometimes those problems are much worse than the ones you're running from. I'd tell her that being needed and being loved aren't the same thing, and that the excitement of secret phone calls and dramatic rescues can't compete with the quiet comfort of a partner who comes home to you every night for 12 years. I'd tell her that Sarah was right about one thing. Some people will always try to make you choose them over everyone else, and that's not friendship. That's manipulation dressed up as love. Most of all, I'd tell her that if your marriage feels boring, the solution isn't to blow it up. The solution is to talk to your husband, to work together to bring back the excitement you're missing, to remember why you chose each other in the first place. But I can't go back. I can only sit in my beautifully redecorated, perfectly organized, completely empty house and live with the consequences of my choices. Sarah got what she wanted. She won our old competition once and for all. Lily got what she needed, the treatment that saved her life. Andrew got what he deserved, freedom from a wife who took him for granted. And me, I got exactly what I asked for. A life with more drama, more excitement, more feeling like I mattered. I just never realized how lonely that life would be. The divorce papers are filed away in my desk drawer, right next to our wedding photos. Sometimes I take them out and look at them, not the legal documents, but the pictures of Andrew and me on our wedding day. We looked so happy, so sure of our future together. I wonder sometimes if that woman in the white dress would recognize the woman I've become. I wonder if she'd be proud of the choices I made, or if she'd be horrified at how I threw away everything she valued most. I guess I'll never know. All I can do now is try to learn from my mistakes and hope that someday I'll get another chance at the kind of love Andrew offered me, steady, reliable, and real. But first, I have to figure out how to forgive myself for being fool enough to let it go.